Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.
For newcomers and old-timers alike, the Chloe Sanctuary hopes to give you insight into the health and happiness of your companion parrots. We hope to help you build happy homes using reliable and proven tools. The best homes are built on a rock-solid foundation. And the best foundation for a happy home is the bedrock of science. When we stand on the shoulders of giants, the scientists who have worked long and diligently to understand our companions, we can reach new heights of understanding. And understanding is the key to success. What does avian veterinary medicine have to tell us about our feathered friends? How can we prevent illness, see the signs of disease before it's too late, and care for our birds through ill health? What light does behavioral science shed on their nature, needs, and hopes? How can the tools of behavior shaping make our homes happier for us and our companions? How can we deal with biting, screaming, or other misbehavior? What is it like to live among parrots, let them roam around about you and share a life with them? How much freedom do you give them? What happens if you form a bond of trust with them? Watch and see what understanding their true nature can do for you. Come with us on a journey as we do more than examine a parrot's world. We live in it. Make some popcorn and bring in a few wood blocks. Let everyone have something to chew and a comfortable place to perch. Cockatude is a presentation of the Chloe Sanctuary for Parrots and Cockatoos, a nonprofit charity dedicated to the empowerment of captive parrots and public awareness.
We hope you will consider supporting us on Patreon today. This is how it works. We produce up to 2 videos a month. As a patron, you pledge to give us a donation, whatever you feel is right and meets your budget. Patreon gives us your gift monthly. You can easily set a limit on how much you donate a month. You can change the amount of your pledge at any time. Your gift will allow us to continue bringing you entertaining and informative videos. Patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary. We look forward to your participation in Cockatude. Hi, and welcome to Cockatude, Cockatoos with Attitude, episode 33, My Journey. My journey with parrots. It's funny, I've come a long way. I can remember with Chloe, who's sitting up there. Yeah. I can remember with Chloe not even having the slightest idea what she was trying to tell me. She actually began my process of learning in that she would want things and I wouldn't get signals. Coco? Do I have to cover your whole head? Yeah? I do. Still having to cover Coco's head when the tripods are up. Hello? Hello? So, she would climb down my chest. She did this a couple of times before I kind of figured out what she was trying to tell me. But she'd climb down my chest on my shirt, and then she would stare at what she wanted. She would stare at what she wanted, and Coco, look, come here. It's all right. They're just cameras. They're just cameras. They're just cameras. They are. It's all right. It's all right. You look like you don't believe me. You don't believe me? But they're all right. They're all right. It's all right over there, Peach. You okay? You all right, Peaches? You okay, Peach? You're nice to the Peach. Well, usually you are. So, from just having her hang on my chest and point her head at what she wanted, within a few weeks, she would just turn her head and just eyeball it a little bit if she wanted it, and turn her head away if she didn't. Cecil, calm down there. Come here. Come here. What are you doing? What are you doing? What's the Cecil up to? Yeah. What's the Cecil up to? So to say I didn't have a clue is it really isn't pushing it at all. And oh yeah? Are you sure? I love you. You big silly bird. You big silly bird. So today we have with us Coco, who is the most vocal when the tripods are up. And we have Roman Bird. Hey, Roman. And Babaloo. Babaloo. Peaches. And Chloe. And Shug Bird. Hello, Sugar. Hi, Sugar. Yeah, she wanted to sit on her perch. I tried to get her to come over here, but she wanted to be on her perch. And the salamander.
If you are enjoying our videos, we hope that you can find it in your heart to support our work. It costs between $25,000 to $30,000 a year to care for our flock of heartbroken and abused birds. Most of our birds came with feather destructive disorder. Even a basic exam with blood work costs $300. Medical emergencies cost us thousands a year. We are a non-profit, and donations are tax-deductible to the full extent of the law. We need your support. Birds deserve a happy and healthy life. Become our patron at www.patreon.com/Chloe Sanctuary to support us on a per-video basis, or donate at our webpage today.
I went down to get Chloe, and she was about an hour's drive from where I lived. And within a short time, I went through a divorce and was living in a 10 by 10 room at a friend's house. And I got Chloe. I realized when I went to put her in her cage that she was pulling herself really tight, and she wasn't happy. So what I did is I took her down to a local bird store, something I wouldn't do today because of the chance of disease. But I took her down there, and she picked herself a new cage, as in it was the only cage she would go into. And that night she did the most incredible dance on the top of her cage. You'd think I would have brought the camera. In those days I would have had to use my little video camera. And you'd think I would have brought it out, but I was so dumbfounded. She made the sound of tubular bells, and she strutted on the top of that cage like it was, a whole new world for her. And I lived at that place for a short time, and then I moved into an apartment of all things. And that was before I didn't have the slightest dream of doing anything like starting a rescue. So I wanted to get a little more information and try to understand some of her behaviors. So I checked online and tried to find what I could there, and I looked for local groups, and there were some breeding groups, and I went to a couple of their meetings, and there wasn't much you could learn in one of those. They were more focused on making money. Come on up, Sal. And they didn't have a lot of knowledge about the birds other than their breeding capacity and that kind of thing. So then I thought, well, maybe there's a rescue or something like that I can go to. And there weren't any. So I ended up forming a rescue, spending 2.5 days with Chloe, filling out the paperwork for the state and for the feds. That amounted to about 5 pounds of paperwork. So when I was looking online, I found this group on Yahoo, the Parrot BAS group. And when I read about it, it was like the group teaches you how to begin to know how to work with birds using applied behavior analysis. I'd never even heard of it. So I took that group, and I thought I had a handle on things like I thought I had a handle on a lot of it, a lot of what they were teaching me, but I was kind of iffy on it, and I really knew that I wanted to help birds, so I got up the money, $750 to take Dr. Friedman's 2 classes, the class 1 and 2 of the LLA course, and so that was 2 months. It was intensive. We had these long sessions on the phone and tons of work to do, and tutors that watched what we wrote. So we would write something, we would write up something, it would go to the tutor. The tutor would then, make their corrections. It would go to Dr. Friedman. She would check that work, and then it would come back to me. And so this was the process, back and forth with Dr. Friedman watching everything. And what I remember the most is that first 3 weeks of studying, I just couldn't get the idea that you observe behavior, you don't label it. You don't look and say, that guy looks like a criminal. You describe that he's walking down the street, he's got a hairnet on, his pants are hanging low, and he's going like this. All these kind of things add up, but you don't put a label on it. Okay, you don't just say this person is a gangbanger. You don't know that for sure. It could be an actor on the way, happens to be walking down to the store after doing a practice somewhere. So anyway, the hardest thing I had there was learning how not to label things, to actually observe behavior, like him shaking his head or her vocalizing when her eyes are uncovered. Are you ever going to stop that? Are you ever? Oh, you're going to look at me? Okay. That's a good girl. That's a good girl. You're kind of taking all my time for petting. Bob's down there playing. I know, Peaches. I know you want me to pet you, but she's sitting on my hand. And I have to keep her from screaming. I know, Peaches. You gonna sing? You gonna sing, baby? You alright? So after I took that class and got through the 2 months of that, I started a little meetup in Escondido, where I was living, which is a little south of here and closer to the heart of San Diego, but not in the heart of San Diego. What a beautiful song! What a beautiful song! Oh, hello, Peaches. Is there a second verse, baby? Is that the second verse? Salamander? Oh, you checking on her, Bob? I know you're up there, sweetie. I know you're up there, Roman bird. The Roman bird. So, since the population of Escondido is maybe 10, 20 times that of this little town I'm living in, we had meetings where people showed up and we talked about birds and bird training and different issues, health and that kind of thing. And shortly after that, I took Chloe. I was trying to find places to take her. I took her to Queen Califia, which is a little park in Escondido. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like, I don't know, Mayan. I'm not sure, but It was designed by a lady from France who does this incredible work with stone and that kind of thing. So I took her there, and then I took her to the Ren Fair. And when I took her to the Renaissance Fair, you'd think that she owned it. In fact, as time went on, as she kept going to Ren Fairs, there was one time when I got out of the truck and it was raining, and I went to get back in, and she wouldn't let me get back in. I mean, she put her wings out and blocked me, so we ended up having to go to the Renaissance Fair in the rain, which after an hour it stopped raining anyway, so she was right, weren't you, Chloe? Huh? Did I say Ren Fair? I did, didn't I? You know what that means. So, by the time 2010, this was in 2008 that I started all this, and got my certificate, and actually started the sanctuary in the beginning of 2008, January 1st to be exact. By 2010, I actually had 6 birds with me. It was Murray, the Congo African gray. She was old, and she died of old age, but I brought 2 birds to the sanctuary on the same day, and I put them in the cages I had set up for them. And as I had to go out and do something, so as I'm going out the door, I said goodbye to everybody. I said goodbye to Murray, and she said something rude to me. She never, ever said again. I won't repeat it here, but she didn't use rude language. She would say things that were like, if you gave her something she didn't like, she'd go. But it was the only time she ever spoke terribly rudely to me, and it was quite funny one time. So I was up to 6 birds and still in an apartment, if you can believe that, in 2010. And they were okay with it. The apartment people didn't have any trouble with it. And I put up some soundproofing. No, you can't do that with my hands, sweetheart. No, we don't do that kind of behavior. No. Wrong species. No, it's the wrong species, my love. Wrong species, okay? So, there was a fire. Apparently some mice chewed some wires in the wall and set the place on fire. By then, the birds and I had mutual understandings. You don't really control birds. The kind of training I learned to do is called operant conditioning. And really what that means is you teach them to make good choices for themselves. So when I reached in to grab them, to throw them in the travel cages, they just folded their wings and went with me. If I'd had that training, I don't know that I could have got those birds into those cages in time, because it was maybe a minute when I had all 6 birds outside, and as I was walking out the door, you weren't there, but you're agreeing with me? Okay. As I was walking out the door, the wall burst into flames, so just a little smoke in the air, that's all I smelled, and I was bundling them up, called the fire department, bundling them up. And again, because we had an understanding between each other, and when I went to grab them, they just went with me, which is great. And I remember standing outside, and I'm looking up at this place, blazing, and the fire department got there in 3 minutes, but I'm standing up, and I'm calm, and they're sitting in the car. And I'm looking up there calmly as the place is burning down, and it's funny because the fire department started asking me questions. The captain who was in charge came over and started asking me questions, and I later figured out what they were asking me the questions for was to figure out if maybe I'd set the fire, because I wasn't nervous or upset about it at all. I lost all the stuff that I had. My customer names and that kind of thing were in my iPhone, so you'll see one of the reasons I'm an Apple fanboy. But when they realized I didn't have insurance, that was the end of that. Then Red Cross came along and they gave me some money for clothing and that kind of thing, $180, and I didn't have a heck of a lot in the bank at the time. So one of our directors at the time, Melissa, showed up at the after the fire, and she brought cages for all the birds. Fairly large cages. So, it was only a few weeks when I was out of that place and found another place up in Fallbrook for the sanctuary. And it's on an acre, and there you go, Roman. It's on an acre, and we don't get any complaints, and, they can vocalize all they want. Right? You're not going to do that. Wrong species. Wrong species, my love. Wrong species. No, we're not going to do that. We're not. So little by little things went along, and in came Cause and Simone, and then came in Peaches, and then Salamander and Sugar, and we got up to 12 relatively fast. And yeah, I know I'm not going to try to preen you right now because we're doing a video. Okay, I won't try to preen you. I'll do that later when you're more in the mood. Okay, not that kind of mood. And after we got up here, one thing I remember more than any other, a pet store they have a foundation behind them, and one of the representatives for the foundation, they had offered everybody a bunch of millet, so we went down there to pick up these boxes of millet, and I was talking to this lady from the foundation, and she was talking to someone else at the same time, and she was telling them, no, you don't want to start a rescue, because all that will happen is you'll end up being broke, you'll probably go bankrupt, you'll only be able to help a few dogs, and it's just going to take all of your income, and it's not really not worth doing it. You should work for someone else. I thought that was a strange thing to say, just to tell someone don't start something to help animals. She was right in one thing. You do end up, financially you get strapped. It's just going to happen because your animals are going to be sick, and you're going to say, well, either I'm going to let them die or I'm going to reach in my own pocket because we don't have enough money to cover the vet bill on this. And so you end up reaching into your own pocket a lot. And what are you doing there, Roman? Oh, Roman Bird, you silly. You run yourself to your physical and your financial limits. That's just the nature of if you're trying to help. If you've seen the movie Schindler's List, where he's standing by the car at the end, and he's counting how much the gold ring that they made from their fillings and that kind of thing, how much that ring would have bought him in human life, how much the car that he was getting into would have bought him in human lives. That's kind of where you get. But, I thought about it. You know what? I could do videos and at least tell people what I've learned and try to help people to help their own birds. So it reminded me of a Stephen King story. In it, one of the characters was a fat kid, and being challenged by a coach and being told he was a fat slob and he was never going to be worth anything, he overcame that. And it's kind of what happened with me, although I wasn't thinking of it. I didn't focus on what this person had said about don't start a rescue because it's, you'll end up swamped and you won't be able to really do much to help anyone. But what actually happened is I realized that I'm a computer geek, so I could do videos, and at the time I had an iPhone 5S, and later on I got a 6S. So with those two phones, I'm able to make these videos, and I've got an old webcam up there, and and I got a microphone that's battery operated that does great sound. So with very little equipment, I've been able to do this. Right, Bob? Right, Roman Bird? Well, come on up and say hello, Roman Bird. Hi, Roman Bird. Oh, funny stories, too. When after the fire, you silly girl. After the fire, we got moved up here. All situated. Yes, Chloe Bird. Yeah, Chloe. Chloe girl. Chloe girl. Bob, be nice. Bob, you be nice to Chloe. Thank you. And so we're situated. We get all the cages in. Got things got things loaded into place. The birds are just calming down. I hear this bang on the outside of the building. It felt like that somebody hit the side of the building with a steamroller. You know, bam, and then I felt the rolling. You know, when you get an earthquake, you feel that roll, and it just got stronger and stronger. And it's like you're riding a roller coaster. And this is getting, it's a minute going on, getting stronger and stronger. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Getting ready to go out and shut the gas off and all that. And then it slowed down and it dissipated. It went away. So here we had a fire. We had to move everybody up here, and then an earthquake was going to get us, right? Right, Salamander? Right? Yeah. Yeah. So, started out doing these videos, and the reason we did them in the beginning, I mean, I had to have a reason to start. You have to start, and I knew I wanted to import things, but the most important thing was to kind of learn the craft and also do something useful. So, what I decided to do was to do a video about each of the birds. So that if something happened and someone needed to take one of these birds, or all of them needed to go somewhere, there would actually be a video that told you about each one of them. So that's where I started. And I took a break at one point and just showed doing nails because I had been sick. I got the flu or something. And wasn't feeling well, so I did one on doing nails, and it actually turned out pretty good, considering. Now, to learn the craft of doing video, along with everything else I'm learning about the birds, because you're always learning. There's always something new to learn. Like with Chloe and Snowball when they had the mate aggression issues, and I had to separate them. Mate territoriality with Simone. The diseases like the cloacal prolapses that are coming slow. It's going to be a long time probably before she has it, but he's getting closer, sadly. The diet's really helped though. He's gone a long time and he hasn't prolapsed yet. So I went to lynda.com, and they have a lot of training on, graphics and video and business and all kinds of stuff. And I went through everything they had on Final Cut, how to do a documentary, the first one, of course, is how to use Final Cut effectively. And I'm going through the second version of that right now that's based on the... Are you in there? You're just going to scream the whole time? Oh, you big silly. You're just a big silly. You're a cute girl, though. I love having you in the videos, even if I have to cover your eyes all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I do. You're a good girl. So, there were a few things that I couldn't get from lynda.com because they were a little more advanced than what they had, so I went to Ritter Training, and I went through those videos. Specifically multicam, using multiple cameras together, and the way I was doing it was really kind of hokey and hard to do, and so I learned how to do it a different way, which is easier, although there's a learning curve on learning how to use it, and that's a continuing process. I continually learn more. I've started listening to a lot of video podcasts. Believe it or not, there are podcasts that are audio that are about how to do video, and there are some helpful things in there. There was one in the blink of an eye is a book that I heard on one of them that video editors they highly regard this book, and it's a little book that apparently helps you see better when you go to do something like create a video, or edit a video. How to time things better. Not that we have to do a lot of timing in here. It's not like we've got action scenes unless the birds decide to make them on their own, right, Salamander? You want to make an action scene with me? How about you? Oh, I see you, Peaches, with your foot up. Yeah. So, let's talk a little bit about my training. When I was taking the 2 months of training with Dr. Friedman, it's college level, and it's tough stuff. If you've been to college, it's definitely not freshman level. It's not introductory. You learn a lot about B.F. Skinner and stimulus response and that kind of thing, and then you get into operant conditioning, which is basically you want a bird or a dog or whatever animal you're training, you want them to make the right choices on their own because they want to do it. So you want them to be the one that's the operator, which is where operant comes from. You want them to be the one making the choices. So learn ways to help them make their own choices based on outcomes that are good for you. So if you have a behavior that you can't deal with, a behavior that's difficult to deal with, we call that a functional misbehavior. So I learned about functional misbehaviors, which is basically it serves a function in their life. They have a reason for doing it. It's just like kids that get into trouble. They have a reason for doing it. Maybe it's they need the stimulus. Maybe it's just a stimulus thing. Or maybe they're looking for some kind of recognition. They've been ignored and they want to get someone to pay attention to them. Or, I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons that they may do behaviors that society doesn't really care for. So, but it serves some function. And once you figure out what the function is, let's say if you have a child that wants recognition and attention. So if you find out that's it, and you give them recognition for doing little jobs, little things that you want, maybe you have them say, well, how about mowing the lawn, and I'll give you $20. That's a lot for mowing the lawn. But maybe that's it. They just need the recognition to say, oh, well, that's a great job. You did a great job mowing the lawn. You want to reward them for behavior that you'd like to see more of. And so, some examples of that are Coco. What you doing there, kid? All they're ever going to see is your tail, because every time I uncover your head, you start crying. They're cameras. They're just cameras. So basically, if the first thing in the class was, first thing I learned in the class was to observe behavior, and you'll see that when I'm doing these videos, sometimes I don't observe it. Like in the last video where I thought that Bob was the aggressor in a situation, and it was actually Salamander who was doing the aggression. It's clear from the video. So the first thing I learned to do was to observe behavior. And then I learned that the basic ways that you can shape behavior. And a lot of that's replacement. If you have a bird that's screaming, I've used this example before, teach it to ring a bell, and you ignore the screaming, but you pay attention to the bell ringing. So they learn that they can ring the bell and get your attention. And then they stop screaming because it has no effect. I learned that if you just try to ignore a behavior by itself and do nothing else, in other words, you're not offering a replacement, it generally doesn't work. Actually, most times makes it worse. I learned that you can work with a bird that has negative behaviors. Let's say that, after a couple of minutes of being on your arm, it starts biting. You can simply give it on exact timing frames. Every 30 seconds, you give them a little tiny treat. That's their favorite treat. And what that does is you're rewarding them for any other behavior other than the one you don't want, okay? Once I had the basic understanding of how behavior shaping works, how to get them to replace their own behavior and fulfill whatever that function is in their life by a behavior that is that is better in our world, then it became pretty easy to start changing behaviors. So when you see these birds reacting together and being able to get along, a lot of that has just been nurturing individual behaviors, getting them to get close to each other and dealing with the reactions that come. seeing, like with Bob's territoriality, if another bird gets down there, there's going to be a reaction between the two, and I just watch it and intervene where necessary. It's much like working out deals, like negotiating deals with them. So we have deals about behavior, and so I can say certain things to Bob and make certain actions. I can make certain actions to Salamander that will get his attention. I can do the same with Coco, but it's individual per bird. In a flock, if they had all been raised in a flock out in the wild, they would all have shared behaviors. They would all have shared social behaviors that you could count on. But in here, they're all from different places, and they have their individual behaviors that I work with, and then we work out deals between each other. So I have one language with Coco, one language with Bob, one language with Salamander. So every one of them reacts to different things. Now there's a few common things. Most of them will respond to or no. It doesn't mean that it will stop them. But at least they are aware that I don't want them to do something. They're also aware that when I say good bird, or I say when I say good, they're aware that when I say good bird, that means that they've done something that I like. I can't read their minds, but they see that as a positive signal when I say that. With Bob, I usually say Bob's a good boy. Is Bob a good boy? Bob's a good boy. Yeah, Bob's a good boy. Yep. Hi, Coco. You gonna live? Huh? You gonna live? Those cameras gonna drive you nuts? Are they? Are those cameras gonna drive that girl nuts? Are they? You're just cameras. Well, there's a microphone, but just cameras and a microphone. That's all. Yeah, you just want them concealed, don't you? Yeah, I hear you. You're gonna start going again. Good boy. Good boy. That's a good boy. Come here, Salamander. What a good boy. I've been training him. When he came here, he would just poop wherever he was. He has a problem with his pelvis, so that's probably why. But he has learned, and in most cases now, he will actually go to another spot to go. Which is pretty good, isn't it, kid? You're a good boy. You've been eating well, too, I can tell. As I said, I've worked with these birds so that they can sit together. There's a few exceptions. Right now, Cause is in a state where she doesn't want to be around any other birds, and she's still sad about her sister leaving, so I'm probably going to take her down to see Dr. Jenkins next week and see if we can do something to ease her through this period, because she's having trouble with it. She's getting better, but it's just taking too long, and I'd like to see her be able to get back into the flock and not be aggressive towards everybody. Wouldn't you, Coco? She goes, I just want to see those cameras out of here. I just want to see those cameras out of here. Whoops, I'm sorry. What you doing up there, Roman bird? Hi, Roman bird. So about a year after I took the LLA course, they had a free course. They're in the last session of that now. And if you want to learn this stuff from Dr. Friedman, you're going to have to take the professional course. There's not going to be a free course anymore. The free course didn't have any interaction with Dr. Friedman other than through email and through tutoring, and it's helpful. That was a helpful course to take, but you really need the interaction. You need to be talking to her on the phone and with a group of people and answering questions and being put on the spot. It's really important. It helps you learn. So I think she's doing the right thing by closing that free course down. But I asked if I could audit the class, if I could take it again, or I could take the free course after I'd taken the professional, and she said, why? I said, as a refresher. And she said, okay, sure, because it wasn't going to really cost anything on resources. She asked, it's work to maintain these courses. And I said, just give me a really hard tutor. So she gave me an astrophysicist from Italy that didn't let me, I couldn't even choose the wrong preposition. And you can use your own words to define things, and you're supposed to. Not just regurgitate what you've learned, but to actually understand the material, you need to be able to say it in your own words. Well, if the meaning was even just a tiny bit unclear, she made me do it over again. So in many ways, that last free class I took was much more difficult than the first one. The first one taught me the principles, but being able to express them well, I learned that from the refresher. Yeah. What you doing, Bob? Bob will sometimes just reach over and grab the hair on my arm and yank on it, which is what he just did. And that's actually an endearing little behavior he has. He does that to be nice to me, don't you? Don't you? Yeah. What Coco? What Coco bird? You're such a good girl. You just really hate those cameras, don't you, baby girl? Yeah. One of the things that really helped me to learn when I was taking the courses was when I was going to Palomar College, there was a teacher there, Tim Ullman, who taught German, but he also taught a class, sort of a class. It was a class in Socratic dialogue that he held in his open hour, in his conference hour. And you could bring up anything, but you had to document what you were talking about. You had to prove your point, and be able to substantiate it with facts, which made it pretty tough. But I remember when I first talked to him, I think it was the second day that I was taking that class, and he asked me what my purpose in coming to school was. Was I going to college to get a degree, or was I going to college to get an education? And I never thought of that, and I had to really consider that for a few days. And my decision was that I wanted an education, and that the degree wasn't that important. And which means that I now have 128 college units and no degree. I took sciences, I took anthropology, cultural and physical, I took art, music, history, computer science, music. I learned to play the piano. So I took a classical education. I took a classical education, took philosophy. And that's all come to bear working with these guys. When you take philosophy, you learn to doubt yourself a lot, and to apply proof, and to see whether something is actually true or false. And that's helped a lot with these guys, because you get the idea that you know what they're doing. And if you're not an expert, if you're not a biologist, or a behaviorist, you'll make a lot of assumptions that just aren't right. Not that scientists don't make assumptions like that too, but the process of science helps to weed all that out. Science is a grinding procedure. That's a meat grinder, and you put information in, you put it through the grinder, and if it comes out the other side okay, then you've found a real answer. So Tim was a big influence in my life. Another big influence was a man named Fran Cannon. I took some of his coaching. Cannon training is similar to what you get from someone like Tim Robbins or that kind of thing, where you get broken down to your basics. And I remember one time it was 11:30 at night, and I'm just gone through all these things from my past, and I'm just standing there, and I cannot, in front of a whole group of people, and I can't figure out how I'm gonna fix the problems I've seen in my life, and the issues I had when I was growing up, and that kind of thing. And he asked me, he said, do you have like 10 seconds? 10 seconds? Yeah, 10 seconds. Could you give yourself 10 seconds to think about something? Yeah, I guess I could do that because I had problems with anger back in those days, a lot. And so if I could hold myself off for 10 seconds, he says, well, then can you think, what would a wise man do? And that's helped a lot. You know, sometimes it'll get pretty crazy here. And I'll just take a couple of breaths and think about what would a wise man do in this situation, and put all the skills I've learned from Dr. Friedman and the studies I've done, I put them to use. I mean, sometimes you actually have to take a bird out of the environment for a short time, for a couple of minutes, or maybe they're just having a day where they need to kind of focus by themselves. It does happen. It's not frequent, but you have to make those decisions, and then be sure that you've given. Let's say if you have to take a bird out for a day, let them kind of work it off. About twice a year with Bob, that happens. He just starts screaming all the time, and then he gets nippy, and so he needs to be taken out for a day, and then he's fine. Aren't you, Bob? Aren't you? He needs to get that break once in a while. Yeah. And there were other supporters that really helped me. In the beginning, there was a lady who came on our board of directors. She knew me from my computer work, and she trusted me, and I told her what I wanted to do. So she was one of our first board members. And there was another guy, Mark. There was Barbara, and there was Mark, and there was Kathleen. They came on and came onto the board, because if you don't have a board of directors, you're not going to form a charity. So they came on board, and they gave me their advice and support, and that helped from the beginning. And then I've had people. I've got a good friend in New Jersey who I bounce ideas off of. She's helped me with calendars, and she just recently took Simone, flew all the way out from New Jersey to pick up Simone and take her all the way back. It's really hard to know who's going to dedicate themselves to being, to a bird's life. But if someone's willing to fly, I knew her, but I knew Regina would. Even if she was right here in town, it would have been fine. She would have kept Simone and done everything she could to make her happy. But the point is, she flew all the way out from New Jersey, spent a couple of days here, and then flew back with her to New Jersey. And she's got her in a huge cage, biggest cage you can buy to go in the house that I know of, from King's Cage, and tons of toys. You see pictures, and then I get videos, and she's such a happy bird. So she's been, and then when I failed to mention too that shortly after the fire, an off-duty policeman from the Oceanside Police Department hit my car and totaled it. And on top of that, I got spun around. I was making a U-turn, and I have no idea how fast he was going, but I got spun several times. It's okay. It all worked out just fine. In the end, I ended up with a truck, which, hey, now you guys, it's all right, Salamander. Or you let him preen your hair. You let me preen it. It's all right. It's okay. It's all right. All right, big boy. It's all right, Bob. You guys still haven't quite worked out all the deals. Oh, she got down there in your area while you were having your little taste-a-tay, huh? Yeah, that's not good. You walk away from your area and somebody else tries to take it over. But she sees those cameras, and that's going to stop her. Hey, now, give her a break. No, Coco, it's not the end of the world. They're cameras. They're just cameras. Actually, they're just phones. They're just smartphones. One of them is a phone. The other one's like an It's more like an iPod. It is. It's been heartening to see how many people who have been able to help their birds through a little bit of encouragement from our videos. And I received a lot of encouragement from several people who are supporting us now. The one who's done this, really supported us the longest time, is a lady named Barbara. And she always donates to us. She actually pays all of Peach's expenses every month. Doesn't she, Peach? And then she gives us a little bonus at the end of the year where you can buy toys for the birds. Doesn't she? Yeah, she does. And she likes to see birds regularly, so I take birds down to her so she can see them. In fact, Cecil will regurgitate whenever he sees Barbara. So he sees her and he starts regurgitating, you know, like, I love you. She doesn't understand it, and who can? I mean, who knows why he likes her so much, but he does. As my mentor, Dr. Friedman, said, every bird's a study of one, and I have learned to truly respect them as individuals. I'm not the boss here. I am more of a facilitator. I'm the guy that gets in between arguments, tries to get them happy. Like right now, she's actually looking at a camera. She's not screaming. That's not going to last, I don't think, but she's getting better about it. Aren't you, girl? So I respect them equally. I am, you know, it's funny, years ago people called me Father Don because I was like a father to the birds. But I really think of myself as more Brother Don because I'm more the brother of all these guys. I'm Coco's brother. I'm Salamander's brother. We're equals. I'm not over them in any way, shape, or form. Right, Coco? Are you in charge? She says I'm in charge of some things. I'm in charge of yelling at the cameras. When you don't see yourself as a doctor who's healing them, but as a friend who is caring for their needs or helping them fulfill their own desires, things do work a lot better, but you do need to have the science behind it too. Loving kindness by itself is not enough. I consider myself their friend, which means that I'll tell them what they do that I think is right and that will help them in life. I will also tell them the things that, you know, I will work with them to fix those things that won't help them in life. A friend will tell you, hey, you know, you really shouldn't wear that outside because you're walking outside in a parka when it's, you know, 100 degrees outside. A friend would tell you that. Where somebody's not a friend, like, oh, if he wants to burn himself up, that's okay with me. So now what I'm focusing on is getting those videos out, trying to help as many people as we can, because if we can't get out of here, we're kind of strapped. We got all these birds. As that person from the foundation said, oh no, if you get into a rescue, you know, it'll take all your time and you'll have nothing. Well, that's true. It'll take your time. I've found the extra time to do these videos because I feel that there ought to be an easier way for people to learn some of these things. And sometimes just seeing that someone else can do it, and I'm just a regular guy, okay? I had a lot of people help me. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. So now what I'm doing is focusing on the videos. We're going to be producing video shorts now too, Cockatoo Nibbles, and they're going to be 5 minutes long, and that's it. And in between our big videos, we're going to have one of those. And we're also going to produce one for our patrons, and that'll just be for them. And it'll be special stuff just for the people who are financially supporting us. Thank you very much for those of you who are our patrons, and for those who donate to us out of the goodness of your heart through Razoo or PayPal. There's so much to learn with these guys. You never stop learning. I want to impart what I learn as I go along as much as I possibly can. And so we'll keep doing cockatoo videos for you. Right? Right, Coco? Now she made it to the end of the video and she's almost decided she's not going to yell, but she's not fully sure yet. She's still kind of looking like maybe I'm going to scream. I don't like those cameras, right? You know they're there. You're still looking at them, but you're not screaming. So I started out knowing almost nothing. And I've gone a long way down the road to knowing a lot, but I'm not a biologist, I'm not a veterinarian. There's holes in my knowledge, that's for sure. And there always will be. I'm a little too old to go back to school for veterinary science. I'm not sure that's what I would do anyway. I'd probably want to see if I could get into the field and do what Dr. Metz is doing as far as helping the wild birds. But these guys, I'm happy doing what I'm doing here. These guys need a home. They need someone to care for them, especially ones that are damaged, like this guy with his twisted pelvis, and this one with her severe feather destructive behavior, which is under control, but has to be maintained on a daily basis. Bob with his cloacal prolapse. His tail end doesn't look too good. Washed every day, and it just doesn't look good, does it? But it hasn't prolapsed yet. No, not yet. Thanks to Dr. Jenkins' ideas, yeah. Fiber and fluid. Fiber and fluid. So who wants to say goodbye? Peaches, you haven't said goodbye for a while. Come here, Peach. You want to say goodbye to the people? You want to say goodbye to our fans and supporters? Peaches, you want to say goodbye to our fans and supporters? Peaches! Peaches? Peaches. Hello. 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 And goodbye. See you next time.
We welcome your feedback on our videos. We look forward to your insights, tips, questions, stories, and pictures. You can email us at cockitude@chloesanctuary.org, reach us on Twitter @Chloe Sanctuary, and join with us on our Facebook Chloe Sanctuary page.
Science knowledge only adds to the excitement, the mystery, and the awe of a flower.
Evidence is evidence. It's public. Everybody can look at the evidence and assess it, and eventually, if there's enough evidence, come to the same conclusion.